My name's Ray Sinti, biology instructor at Convent of the Sacred Heart High School in San Francisco and a graduate student at the University of San Francisco in the School of Education. This podcast is my reaction to various articles and audio files discussing trends regarding access to technology amongst various racial groups. In the MSNBC story on minorities, The New Digital Divide, I discovered that Latinos and blacks have been historically on the wrong side of the digital divide for quite a while. Yet today, these trends appear to be changing. These minority groups are now in the lead with regards to the usage of mobile devices like cell phones. Still, potential problems might be lingering with regards to just how those devices are used. It appears that these mobile phones are being used mostly for just entertainment apps and social media and email. So there might be more engagement, but what about the quality of that engagement? Questions remain about what are people doing with this access. Perhaps the bigger question yet is what more could be done in this arena. For me, it's a little disconcerting that these trends are showing that young minorities such as African Americans are spending quite a lot of time on social media. Again, is that time being spent wisely? Sure, texting is interactive and it's a start, and the hope is that I see potential for a succession taking place over time. Perhaps what starts as simple texting could lead to more quality engagement, like the creation of content instead of just consuming it. So at the moment, it would seem mobile phones are being used far more for entertainment. But with a little faith, what starts out as fun can transform perhaps into opportunities. In the National Urban League Policy Institute report in 2012, Connecting the Dots, Linking Broadband Adoption to Job Creation, the findings show that significant gaps in broadband adoption continue to exist with African Americans, and they are underrepresented in employment in sectors that depend on broadband connectivity. I agree with the League's proposal to identify solutions in a sector-by-sector approach to fit the needs of local communities and business. Change can occur, but local change is best, I believe. I also agree with the need to stress the importance of adopting job training programs and the importance of science, math, technology, and engineering education. As a science teacher, I feel these subjects are more than content, but rather the very skills that will be crucial to economic development and future jobs in the 21st century, not just in minorities, I might add, but for all races. The findings are clear. An access gap does persist in African Americans, and they are significantly underrepresented in broadband jobs and business. The real reasons, however, for this are more difficult to know. Is it really just access, or could it be skills? Could it be culture? Perhaps effort? It is hard to know for sure. I like the take action approach, though. So what is to be done? Of the many recommendations in the report, I would like to highlight the recommendation I agree with most. It suggested that the greatest need is in access to computers and job-focused long-term digital literacy. A true pioneering model of this can be seen in the San Francisco Bayview, Hunters Point, and Visitation Valley districts. In these targeted sectors, the San Francisco Public Library has initiated a project to help increase computer resources. In this program, laptops can be borrowed by simply a library card holder. Yes, computers for free. And on these laptops are also included important apps like browsers like Internet Explorer, OpenOffice, which is like Word, or Excel, and Adobe Acrobat. The library also has resources in becoming an American citizen. It also has an impressive collection about jobs and career resources, electronic resources that have videos, ebooks, and jobs, search, and how to write resumes. I can post these links to these programs on our class website if you'd like to learn more. With regards to the author's claims being supported sufficiently, I feel that the Pew Research Center is nonpartisan. And it does attempt to inform the public about the issues, attitudes, and trends shaping the U.S. and the world. It conducts public opinion polls, demographic research, media content analysis, and other empirical social science research. I can appreciate the just the facts approach, and I feel that I can trust these numbers. In an audio file from Pew from their Hispanic Center, the report observed that when variables such as income and education are controlled, the disparities in internet use disappear, signifying that the rate of internet utilization is the same for Hispanics and whites who have comparable levels of education and income. In the 2010 Pew Internet Project Senior Research Specialist Aaron Smith spoke to the Center for American Progress Internet Advocacy Roundtable about 3 trends in minority technological use. One trend that I'd like to highlight is that he observed that the internet and broadband populations have become more diverse over the last decade, and this is welcome news indeed. This claim is sufficiently supported with data showing that over the last decade, data shows that the internet population has come to more closely resemble the racial composition of the world as a whole. With regard to a possible counterargument to the text claim, Aaron Smith spoke about another trend, that minorities' internet users just don't use the social web at higher rates. Their attitudes towards it and the tools differ as well. I'm skeptical, however, about claims of attitude, such as minority attitudes towards social media are diverged notably from those of white. I wonder about how you can measure attitude. It's certainly questionable at best. For evidence, Mr. Smith cites minority assertions that during election years, the government's usage of social media helps people to become more informed about what the government is doing and how the government can be more accessible. Yes, this is true perhaps, but I would also say it's true for everyone, and most people would feel that way. The Pew Internet Institute also responded to questions about why Asian Pacific student islanders were being excluded from data collection on the digital divide. Do you recall their claims that the Asian American make up only a small slice of the population, something like 3.7%? Plus, they cited barriers. Since most of the Pew Internet's work is done only in English, language barriers reduce the number of participants who complete the surveys. My counter-argument response to this Pew Internet Institute is that I do acknowledge the diversity of the Asian American population and the various languages they speak. And it does make interviewing in those native languages very difficult and very expensive. However, I see this more of a challenge, and I feel that more money is required in this area to legitimize the report and the statistical data. As I read and learn more, I'm finding it's difficult for me to identify with most of these situations in the digital divide. I can say that I am sort of removed from these trends at my school. However, I can relate to the massive increase in mobile devices, and these trends are giving me a sort of a feeling of hope. Personally, for me, a small mobile device isn't very useful. Simply the memory capacity and the fact that it's difficult to store discourages me from using these devices primarily. Yet that being said, there are amazing improvements lately with regard to cloud storage and voice-to-text apps and the ease of emailing to update blog sites. Moreover, important content can be created using these small devices, and perhaps the phone will be leveraged as the ideal collector in the future for information, for pictures, for video, and for data, while at the same time you can sync it with the cloud. So I agree that access to the digital world is increasing because it's being untethered from the desktop. I can identify with this because at my school I've seen the disintegration of our computer lab rooms at my school with the replacement to one-to-one iPads. So the usage of mobile technologies, especially mobile phones, might be the key to blacks and Latinos becoming more likely to participate in the digital world, and that's good for sure. So here's my open-ended question. One of the points made in our reading suggested that there is a trend that minority Americans are relatively likely to use digital technologies to keep up with what's going on in their neighborhoods. I'm very intrigued by this. For example, tools such as blogs, social network sites, and neighborhood listservs are serving as valuable tools for keeping up with local issues. I'd like to learn more about how these neighborhood communities commenced or got started. This could be a fun way to bring communities back to these sort of socially interactive states of the past. How might this idea expand into great ways that young adults can make friends and perhaps more importantly, job connections in the future? I hope you enjoyed the podcast, and more importantly, thanks for listening.